Good reading, everyone. I'm Kevin, and today we're doing something that I like to call Fika with a book. So here in this little glass thingy, I have a note for every single book I've read that I have rated over 3 stars. And on this kind of series on my channel, it's every Saturday. I'm going to just randomly pick a book and I'm going to talk about it, and I have a few questions that I'm going to answer every Saturday about the book that I picked that week. So let's see which book we're starting with. And I want this one, okay? Okay, the first book is, I'm sorry about the handwriting, The Husbands Gambit by L.A. Witt. And below you see that I gave it 5 stars. So we're starting off with The Husbands Gambit by L.A. Witt. So this is a book about a guy, I don't remember the names, it's been a while since I read this book, but there is a main character who is struggling with money, and he finds an ad that says, be my husband for X amount of time and you will get millions of dollars. And this guy who is struggling with money is like, okay, this could be a scam, but I'm gonna check it out because I'm desperate. I am in desperate need of money right now. So they meet up, and this guy is really nice, and he wants a fake husband to expose his parents' homophobia. He wants to expose their homophobia by showing off like, this is my husband, and being like in a gay relationship, and he is from a rich family, and his family is pretending to be very supportive of him being queer, and so he wants to expose his parents' homophobia. That's it. So that is the general synopsis for this book. The first question is, which rating did the book get? I gave it 5 stars because there's just a lot of this book that made me laugh, that made me cry, that made me feel a lot of emotions. This book was very relatable to me as someone who has toxic parents. I don't have any contact with my parents at the current moment because of things. So that whole aspect was very relatable to me, and it broke my heart, and it mended my heart, and it helped me with coping my own issues, and it was such a blast to read, and I loved it, so I wanted to give it 5 stars. The second question is, did you leave a review on Goodreads for this book? And I did. And my review is, this book checks all of my boxes. I knew early on that this would get more than 3 stars. And I can honestly say I loved every second. Something that I love about this book is that it ended the way it did. The story got a happy ending, even though people who don't have a toxic parent might want a redemption arc. I am extremely happy the dad didn't get one. I am also happy with the portrayal of being a child of someone who would disown you, because I've been there and I relate to everything Jesse was feeling. I relate to both Jesse and Hayden so much, it's almost insane. So that was the review for this book. The third question is trigger warnings. If you don't want the trigger warnings, go to skip to where my hand is down. So the trigger warnings for this book is toxic parents, homophobia, physical abuse, mental abuse, and abandonment. Question number 4. What scene do you remember most vividly? And this is a spoiler, so if you don't want the spoiler, just move to the next question. So the scene that I remember most vividly is at the party in the end of the book, where the dad is exposing his true feelings towards Jesse and Hayden's relationship, and Hayden gets it all on film. The dad gets extremely mad and is just like, delete the video, and Hayden is like, sorry, I can't, I did Facebook Live or Instagram Live or something like that. And I was so happy with that scene. I was just like, damn, you go boys. And like the huge middle finger to the dad is just like, I was rooting for that. Like I loved it. So that is the scene that I remember most vividly. Question number 5. Change the... My girls are playing. Okay, so question number 5 is change the title to A/the X of X and X format. Okay, I'm gonna be extremely basic with this answer because The Revenge of Jesse and Hayden, because I can't come up with anything else. I'm sorry. That is horrible, but I can't come up with anything else. Question number 6. Thoughts on the cover. I don't like it at all, and I do understand that the whole Gambit, that it's a chess piece, because Gambit is like it's related to chess, if you didn't know that. But it is, and I do understand why there's a chess piece because of that, but I don't think there's anything on that cover that deals with what the story is about. Like the whole thing with pretend to be my husband to get back at my dad, that doesn't, like, that's not visible at all. The whole homophobic and toxic dad is also a very important part of the book, and it's not shown at all. So I think the cover got the Gambit part across, but none of the romance, none of the revenge, none of those things that are so important to the story and are the reasons why I love this story. And I would love to do a kind of remake the cover kind of thing, because I used to work as a graphic designer, so I do have some experience in that. I made every art that has to do with this channel and my other social media accounts connected to this channel. I made all of that, so I do have some experience in that regard. So question number 7 is something that I had to add in, and it's, would you use this book in education? Why? And if yes, give examples. I would probably not use this in education. I would, however, recommend it to people who have toxic parents and want to heal that hurt. This book is great. At least it was great to me. And again, be mindful about the triggers, be aware of those before going into the book. But this book was very important to me as someone who has toxic parents who actually disowned me. So I do understand, like, this book has like a huge impact on me, but it's not a book I would use in education because I don't think it's the best book that I can use to talk about those issues. That's the thing, which doesn't mean that I don't love the book. I do. Question number 8. Does the book remind you of another story? Book, TV, other. I mean, it does remind me of a lot of like fake dating books. It's not the first fake dating, fake marriage romance that I've ever consumed. So it does have like a lot of similarities to all of those, which are too many to mention. But yeah, so it does remind me of that trope generally, even though this book kind of absolutely stands on its own. Question number 9. Have you read other books by this author? Why, yes, I have. Robbie and Matthew. I hated that book. I hated that book. And I also read After the Fall, which I loved. And I've also read Ripples and Waves, which I hated. So I've read 4 of her books. I hated 2 and I loved 2. Yeah, that's this is the first book that I read by her. So it put like the bar very high for the rest of her books, and the next 2 books that I read by her I was just like not enjoying at all. Robbie and Matthew is obviously a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, which, if you aren't aware, I love Shakespeare. I have my Shakespeare shelf, and that is why I wanted to read that book, and I hated it. Yeah. And then I read Ripples and Waves for school, actually, because it is a gay retelling of H.C. Andersen. So weird to say his name in English. Jose Andersen, his story The Little Mermaid, Den lilla havfrun, and like, so I decided, okay, I'm gonna, because The Little Mermaid is actually, it has to do with his own same-sex attraction to a man. So he had this love for another man that was unrequited, and so he put that emotions into Den lilla havfrun, The Little Mermaid. That's the reason that I was like, okay, so because of that, I'm going to read a gay retelling of it, and I found Rivers and Waves, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a go. And okay, full disclosure, they had 3 days together where Merman could, like, he got legs. They had 3 days together, like 3 full days, and the only thing that they did was have sex. And to me, I am very openly asexual. That was just like, you have 3 days. Do you know how much you can do in 3 days? Like, you don't have to just stay in bed and have sex around the clock for 3 days. They were just like, for me, that sounds like a waste of time. So I was just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I hated that. Like, honestly, I despised it. So that was the 3rd book that I read by her. So when I went into the 4th book, I was like, okay, this, I might hate this, but I ended up actually absolutely loving it. Like, it was a beautiful story. It was a beautiful story. And we might get to that book another week. The last question is, if there is a TV adaptation, so a TV show or a movie adaptation of this book, would you watch it? Yes. 100% I would watch it if it comes out. So that was it for this week's Fika with a book, and I will see you next week. Good reading. Bye!